Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bratty Bree and I love zines. So today we're going to talk about a genre of zines which is called perzines. Perzines is just a mashup of the two words personal and zine. But first, if you're not familiar with what a zine is print work that you print, bind, and distribute by yourself. There's no middleman, there's no restrictions, there's no censorship. Zines can be truly about whatever you want. Think of them like handmade magazines, except unlike traditional magazines, they're cheaper to make and you distribute them in a way where you can either sell them, trade them, or give them out for free. They're basically DIY magazines, and they're like that because they're supposed to be as accessible as possible for you to be able to share your message and express yourself. Okay, so now that we know what a zine is, let me tell you what perzines are. And if I sound a little bit robotic or monotone, it's because I have my notes here. Your girl is scatterbrained, so I have my notes to help me just kind of help me stay on topic. So what is a perzine? Well, like I said, it's a genre of zines. The word perzine is just a mashup of the word personal and zine. And these zines are just a bit more personal than other zine formats. And in a way, all zines are personal because they are just a reflection of the creator's opinionated work. Perzines go a little bit deeper into specific events of the creator, their life story, and maybe just their observations on life. So it is a little bit more vulnerable. It is a little bit more oh my god, am I okay? It is a little bit more vulnerable and in-depth to that creator's specific experience. Maybe there's informational zines out there about, let's say, how to protest safely. And there's a lot of zines out there that will say how you can talk to police when you're protesting, gear that you could bring to protect yourself, and how to advocate for someone else if you see that they're in trouble while protesting. So that's a zine, right? Informational zine. Say someone has a very specific experience protesting and they just want to talk about that. They don't want to give you information on how you can protect yourself or any of the nuts and bolts of protesting, right? They just want to talk about, on this day, April 5th, I went to a protest and here's what happened to me. So that's a good example of what a perzine would be about. It's about that creator's specific experience with something, and it doesn't have to be that experience. It could be literally anything. It could be about how you ate an acorn, or can you eat acorns or peanuts? Say you ate peanuts and you were allergic to them or something, and that's the day you found out you were allergic to peanuts. That could be your perzine. You could talk about how much you were excited to eat these peanuts, you broke out, you had to go to the ER, and you almost died, and that's how you figured out you were allergic. That's a perzine, because it's all about your experience, what you went through. Okay, so moving on. Why should I make a perzine? Well, you should make a perzine to share your stories, express yourself. You can complain, you can vent, you can brag, you can literally talk about anything, and you can't do a perzine wrong. How can you do it wrong if it's just a reflection of you, right? So you can make it with the confidence that you're gonna create something completely original. I find that the more specific and in-depth I am about my experiences, or the more I share my specific experiences, I find that other people relate to them. Just let your creativity and your personality shine through, because you can't mess it up. There's no way. It's impossible. I promise you, you can't mess it up. And perzines don't have to be exact retellings of an experience. You can also include illustrations, poetry, photography. You can make collage work, short stories, artwork, anything. Just express yourself freely, you know? You don't have to say word for word what happened to you. It could be as simple as cutting and pasting words and making a haiku over collages. It could be photography of that experience. I'm just reiterating, but it can be anything. Printing your perzine is way cheaper than printing a book or a magazine. So that's another reason why you should make one, because it's so accessible, it's so do-it-yourself, it's so punk. You can find any kind of materials to make your zine, bind it yourself with staples, rubber bands. You could use clips. The options are limitless, and this makes zines so accessible because it's easier to get your work out into the world like that. If you could afford to get your work published in a more defined and polished work like a book or a magazine, by all means do that. But what a perzine or zines in general are for is if possibly you can't afford those materials or those resources, or maybe you just want something that's a little bit more creative and messy to represent your work. Perzines are perfect for that. So I think that's a great reason why you should make a perzine, because it is affordable, it is accessible. You don't really need much. All you need is like paper, some scissors, and your imagination, and whatever you can find. Like I said, not everyone can afford to get their stuff printed off or mass produced like in a book or a magazine, so zines are a great alternative for that. When you think about what the content of your perzine will be, it can be serious, it could be funny, it could be goofy, it could include not a lot of detail, it could include a lot of detail, it could be interactive, it could be kind of plain. It's just getting that message, getting that thought or that feeling or that way of expressing yourself out there. Okay, so moving on, where can I find perzines? Perzines are going to be in the same platforms as other zines are. So a lot of ways that you can find them are in independent bookstores. You can also find zines in your local library. I know a lot of libraries have zine collections now, and you can go through, sift through, and borrow zines. Like you can borrow a book from the library. I think that's pretty awesome. And if you don't want to do anything in person, you can find a lot of zines online to purchase through Etsy or Big Cartel. Look at your favorite artists, see if they make zines, and look in their shop. They probably do. If you wanted to ever read any of my zines, I have them in my shop. It's called breezetinyprintshop.com, and I have a lot of zines that you could sift through. Or you can look on zine archives that are located online for free. I'll list all of that information into the description. That's where you can find perzines to read, help you to connect with others, and also gain inspiration for your perzine. Okay, so now that we talked about what perzines are, it's very straight to the point, right? It's very easy to understand, just like zines are. Perzine is just a genre of zine. It's just a more specific type of zine, that's all it is. So to help you understand it a little bit more, I do want to do a small zine tour. I'm only going to show you a couple of zines to give you an idea of what your perzine could be about, or just kind of understand the format a little bit better. To get our perzine tour started, I'm starting off with this mini zine called Looking Back. You can find them here at Laura Tran Johnson on Instagram and all their other socials, and here's their contact information. This zine is super interesting because it talks about how Laura Tran felt isolated during quarantine. So because of all this time alone, they had time to really look into who and where they came from. And what's incredible is that they learned a lot about their Vietnamese ancestry and how their ancestors endured a lot during their time alive. This really helped Laura feel less alone. By understanding where they came from and how much their ancestors endured to get to where Laura is, helped Laura feel less isolated and less alone during quarantine. And that's such a specific experience to Laura, right? But by sharing this, we can all relate to that. We can all remember how we felt during quarantine, and I'm pretty sure most of us had a time of isolation. And that's why this zine is so special to me, because look at one of the pages here. It says, I feel grounded and less alone knowing that generations of resilience brought me here. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful perzine. Now I want to move on to another one. This one is called Cancer Sucks and Stands No Chance Against My Super Awesome, Totally Kick-Ass Sister. That's what the cover looks like. So basically, this zine is all about resilience and togetherness, how you could get through tough times by sticking together. And because Eli went through this experience before with their mother, when Eli's middle sister got cancer as well, it's basically like, okay, we've been through this before, we were strong, and we saw how strong mom was during this, and she didn't let this deter her treatment of us and how much she loved us and cared for us. We will get through this together because we've been through this before together. And I think that's super beautiful. And what I think is cool about this too is that it is a call to action, and it is basically fundraising for their sister, which is beautiful. Zines can do that, you know, zines can be so powerful like this by sharing a message, but also saying, hey, if you'd like to help us or support us, purchase this zine. If you would like to donate, here's their information on the back of the zine. You can pause this video, but I'll also try to make sure I put a link in the description that details how you can purchase the zine or how you can donate to Eli and their family. Okay, and the last perzine I want to talk about is one that I made, and it's called We Are Made of Star Stuff. And this zine has a special kind of folding technique. It's called the waterfall, and it's called the waterfall because it opens like this. And it opens in this folding mechanism. I made this zine last year when I went to Joshua Tree for the first time, and I was really blown away by seeing the stars. The whole trip was amazing, but looking up through the rooftop of a car that I was in with you know, someone I was dating at the time, and being able to look up and see the stars and how pitch black it was in this desert, but the stars were illuminating us. And it made me think about how our bodies consist of the same chemical elements found in stars. I was just like, hey, we have some of the same stuff in us that the stars do. And I don't know, it was just a weird moment for me, being connected to something as beautiful as that. And here I am in a freaking Honda Civic in the middle of the desert, and I am as special as stars are. Just to give you an idea of what I mean and why this was so personal to me and meant so much to me, I'm gonna read an excerpt from the last page. Growing up, I was always told I'm too much, too distant, too complicated, too loud. But if it's true that I'm the same stuff of stars, I guess I'm okay with how people perceive me. No one ever gets mad at stars for being too distant. Instead, they call them heavenly. No one gets frustrated about stars being too complicated. Instead, they say they're intricate. No one bitches about how the stars are too loud. Instead, they say they're powerful. People travel hours from home, climb mountains and rocks, and camp outside in the cold just to get a glimpse of them. And if stars were made to be that special, I was made to be that special too. And then it ends with a very nerdy page at the end. The carbon in our muscles, the calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the cosmos is also within us. You, me, everyone. We are made of star stuff. And I have this little picture here that says, I shine like stars. It's very personal, and now I feel a little bit vulnerable for sharing that, but that's what Perzines are all about. I think that when you share your zine, it resonates with someone. Even if it's just one person, it resonates with someone, and that's important. I hope that you guys find making your Perzines therapeutic and healing, because they are. And when you share them, they're not only therapeutic and healing to you anymore, they're helping someone else, even if you don't see it. I promise you. So go out there and make zines, guys. Share them with me, share them with your friends, share them with the world, share them online. Do whatever you need to do. Just make them.